Jessica had been living in the complex and vibrant streets of Milan for years. However, her life was filled with the psychological burdens she carried within. Bipolar disorder and sudden anxiety attacks dragged her into a daily struggle, making every day a challenge. She could suddenly transform into someone else and unleash her emotions destructively. One evening, when she returned home, she became extremely angry at her children for misbehaving and began to scratch her face with fake nails and hit her head against the wall. She fainted and remained unconscious for a long time. Her husband had not yet returned home, and the children were very upset in her absence. When she woke up, she saw her children like ghosts. Finally, when her husband came home, he rushed to take her to the hospital upon seeing her lying on the floor. However, Jessica didn't want to go and resisted vehemently, even trying to hold onto doors and objects while wreaking havoc in the house. She resisted going because, like her mother, she wanted to become a nun at a young age, and she believed that doctors and the world perceived it as the house of the devil. Her husband began to grow tired of her attitude. The only stable element in Jessica's life was finding solace in the warmth and love of her family when she returned home after challenging work days. Her husband Alex and their 2 children were a strong source of support for her. However, her increasing discomfort led her to reject all treatment, constantly trying to prepare various mixtures she believed in. Was an unseen entity tormenting her? On a day off when she was alone at home, while her husband was at work and the children were at school, Jessica left the house without having breakfast. As she got into her car, strange noises kept buzzing in her ears. Her trembling increased when she unexpectedly ran into her childhood friend before getting into her car. She asked for permission and quickly distanced herself. When she turned the corner of the street, she hesitated, and when she snapped out of it, she suddenly slowed down the car. It was as if there were wolves devouring her brain from the inside. She approached the forest and drove deeper into it. As she became more isolated, the strangeness she saw continued to increase. She stumbled upon a wedding in the forest and stopped. When she got out of the car, her knees were shaking. As she approached the wedding, the sound suddenly disappeared, and reality replaced it. She found herself in the middle of an endless forest, next to a rock surrounded by trees. When she turned back, she couldn't see her car and realized that she was lost alone. She tried to return by following the path she came, but it was futile. She rested and began to remember herself. It was almost evening by now. Remembering herself led her to question whether she was the cause of her own existence, and whether she could have a different life if she changed. While pondering this, a child approached her, and it was her son, calling her to wake up. Jessica, who had just awakened from a deep dream, was initially lying unconscious on the ground. She felt better when her husband arrived, and they were going on a vacation the next day, which made her feel even better. Despite being together for many years, they had never been able to plan a vacation due to her husband's work. However, one summer vacation changed everything. The family had gone to a beautiful holiday village to relax. Everything was fine in the first few days, but in the middle of the vacation, Jessica's bipolar disorder started to worsen. Sudden mood swings began to worry her family. One evening, Jessica's anxiety escalated to the point where she lost control. Her family tried to communicate with her, but Jessica's world had descended into chaos. On a sudden impulse, she locked herself in a room and began to harm herself, hitting herself with anything she could find. Her family tried to intervene, but it was too late. Jessica was lost in the grip of bipolar disorder. Following the incident, the family experienced a profound trauma. Jessica lost her life, deeply affecting each member of the family. Alex, while trying to support his children, had to grapple with his own inner turmoil. The children keenly felt the pain of losing their mother. After the tragic loss of Jessica, the family faced an even more challenging struggle to continue living in Milan. Alex had to leave his job, and the family struggled to cope with financial difficulties. One evening, Alex thought about his wife and reminisced about the beautiful days they had shared. He felt both anger and regret for not having listened to her, despite trying to come to terms with reality. With an incomprehensible mindset, they continued to think and carry on with life.